that he could be using right now. Nanasid probably isn't the best character to, or follower I should say, to use it on, but he will definitely be able to utilize that later on to put one of Delita's followers in the dirt. Probably Undertaker. That would be a great card to use it on. We'll see what he decides to do with it.
I was a little disappointed Shield Break never came up in my match against Vault. I would have loved for him to try that one. And now we get to see Delita finally using his strategy, Pass the Blood. He's put his Crescent Conundrum in slot 3. I think he's using Nanasid maybe as a shield a little bit, trying to get that card moved down into slot 5 possibly, and get that one removed rather than having Conundrum. Unfortunately, Swimmer Irie, she doesn't really tell you who she's going to move. She just kind of, as it is in battle, she picks the target that she feels is the most appropriate and moves that down. At this point, it could move either Student Leader Lena or Crescent Conundrum or Nanasid. As far as Delita is concerned, he's probably hoping it's not Crescent Conundrum.
Yes, as the Hooch said, it looks like Delita's going back to his typical strategy. He loves to play that Crescent Conundrum in slot 3, use Pass the Blood, use all the defense that's on the field, and buff that card up. But I think Ness is not too shaken by that. He's probably going to stick to his current strategy. With all that defense on the board, Ness could easily play that Shield Break and do some serious work here. He decides to hold on to his Shield Break, hold on to his Bondage, and he's got confidence that he's got confidence that Delita isn't necessarily going to play anything too crippling to what he's got going on right now.
Ness is a gamble going here. He's hoping that card in slot 1 is actually going to be a follower and not a spell card. He's going, and it went against him because looks like Delita dropped a spell card in that first slot. So Ness's swap card isn't going to do anything for him, unfortunately. Oh no, it's the first follower. I'm sorry, it's not the first slot. First follower. I apologize.
Alright, so it looks like Crescent Conundrum still sitting in there at slot 3, looking to do tons of damage here. 14 attack, 2 defense, I believe that's 13 stam, but don't forget the Swimsuit Irie is going to shift someone down into the 5th slot, and it's Crescent Conundrum. She gets slid down into the 5th slot, and there she goes. She is gone. I'm sure Delita is crushed by that. He was putting all of his chips on that slot, used Pass the Blood to buff it up, and just like that, Swimsuit Irie said, no, we don't want any more of you around here. You got to get out of here. Ness hovering over that Sister's Letter. He decides to play it. He might be deciding to play Bondage as well. He's got no follower cards to play at the moment. He decides to use his second shuffle, and he's got Insomniac Nanasid here. He's got the Balance card that he could play, but I think he's a little confident right now. Ooh, and he decides to play Sense of Belonging, looking to deactivate and steal one of Delita's followers, hoping that Delita... Oh, it would have been amazing if Delita had played Undertaker right there. He could have possibly stolen that.
Yeah, Delita's had a little bit of problems hanging on to his Undertaker. I believe in both the practice matches you and I had against him, we managed to rip his Undertaker right out from under him and use it to beat him senseless. If you'll notice also, Delita's playing a lot of low cards, a lot of low-sized cards. That's going to serve to his advantage because even though Swimwear Irie is going to move cards into slot 5 and remove them, he's not going to take too much of a hit in life. That's why it was a pretty good play for Ness to put that Bondage card down, work it against him a little bit, buff his sizes up to make sure that even though when he does move cards or they get destroyed, that it's going to take some damage off of him.
Oh, so it looks like Ness played that Sense of Belonging. He ended up stealing a card that had -4 attack. Not the best thing in the world for him. He's got another Sense of Belonging that he's hovering over at the moment. He's got an Undertaker in his hand. He's got a Sister's Letter, I believe. He's got that Shrink too. He's got plenty of options here. It's still very, very close. We're in the 10th turn. Ness with 10 HP. Delita at 9 HP. What is Delita going to do? We see what Ness is going to go with. It's all about Delita's hand, and he decides to play Undertaker. Ness has Sense of Belonging. Delita only plays 1 card. That means Sense of Belonging is going to steal that card and bring it over. That means Ness is going to be sitting on 2 Undertaker cards. Delita has got to be crying in his seat right now. That is crushing. That is 3 games in a row that he has just played of SwordGirls and has Undertaker stolen. Undertaker just does not want to be with him. It seems like the relationship is over, and he should really just let it go.
Although sometimes you just got to keep trying. You got to keep the hope alive. Even though they keep running away, you got to keep stalking them and bringing them back. So we're going to see right here, it looks like Ness goes in and plays the Terra Sancta Nurse. That's pretty much just a filler card. It's just there to soak up damage. If you have a character card or some buffs that'll actually help, it's really good because she does have 2 defense and 11 stamina. She comes pretty beefy and can take some beatings. And now we see Genius Student Nanai showing up. Let's see, we've got a couple of 2s and a 5. So not exactly sure. Although based on how many cards that Delita's played, if either of those size 2 cards attack Nanai, they're going to take a beating.
Absolutely. It is just crazy. The amount of good reads that Ness has had this game have been amazing. Oh, and there's one of the size 2 cards going bye-bye. If Ness ends up losing this game, he's got to feel terrible because he was a mind reader through and through from start to finish in this game. Everything that he has done up to this point has just been so crisp, so clean. Delita has gone with the most unorthodox strategy, and it just has not worked for him. Ness has decided to stick to his guns, stick to his game plan, and it has been very, very lucrative for him. He has 3 size to go. He could play the shield break. It's only a size 2. That would be a good thing to do. He ends up doing it. Looks like he's trying to go for the killing blow here. If he can get a really, really low defense on one of Delita's cards, that would be amazing. Looks like Delita's probably going to try and do another Pass the Blood. Debuffing that shield break to give it opposite armor would be amazing because Undertaker could hit it. If it is size 2 or above, that will be the end of game 1. We will see what happens, and it doesn't look like he plays that Pass the Blood.
Oh. He's bringing Shrink out to try to knock that Undertaker down a little bit. That's another strategy that he uses. Waits till somebody plays that high card and then pulls the Shrink out to knock it down. He's also using his Pinot Noir card along with the Empowering Chant to give it a boost. So we're down to 1 to 5 here, guys. This is it's 3 to 1. Oh, this is really close. It's really close, everyone.
Oh man, this is it, people. We see Ness sitting on 3 hit points. We see Delita sitting on 1. Delita going back to that Scarlet Pinot Noir that he loves so much. She gets bumped down, I should say, to 3 size. If she goes down, it spells the end. It would be amazing if Ness had an answer and he decides to play the Undertaker of his own. The second and Confinement. The second Undertaker that he's had. The first one he, of course, stole from Delita. Delita's got to be biting his nails right now, wondering how this happened to him. He decided to play a little unorthodox. He still had powerful cards, and Ness either shut them down completely or decided to play them of his own, and he decides to play Pass the Blood with 2 Pinot Noirs. That means he's going to bump his armor up. He knows that Ness has already played Shield Break, so he doesn't necessarily need to worry about that. Oh, man. And that was a crazy play by Delita, and he ends up taking the game. That was ridiculous.
Ness gambled, essentially. Basically, he put that confinement in there, hoping to take that the Pinot Noir that was in slot 3. It was a size 3 card, so it was going to lose. He was going to lose half of that card's size and stamina, but figured, you know what, I'll lose the 1. He'll get rid of his best card. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in his favor. You know, he did pull the card, but he had a second Pinot Noir sitting in the wings, ready to hit that Terra Sancta Nurse, take her out, and go in for the win.
I see you guys in the comments going crazy. Do you see how close that game was? That was insane. You can't make that kind of stuff up. You really can't make that kind of stuff up. That was heartbreaking for Ness. I don't even know what to say. Ness, do you have any comments after game 1? Because you played a great game. You had so many good reads. What do you have to say about that?
Honestly, I was assuming that he was pretty much out of follower cards because he was about to deck. That was his last turn, so he went all in. So I was kind of just pretty much hoping that he wouldn't have any more followers. And if he did, I was hoping to kick it out, and it was a gamble because I couldn't do anything about it. I was potentially going to lose almost either way because I don't think my Undertaker would have been strong enough to kill either one of those, and if it attacked the wrong one. So it really was a coin flip at that point, but it was a really good match.
So Delita going with the very unorthodox strategy, and game 1 is his. Let's make that move on to game 2. Let's get it started, people. So both players here are warm and ready for the next game to start. That was amazing. We'll see if Delita decides to go with his cookie cutter strategy of his Crescent Conundrums, using Pass the Blood, using his Pinot Noir with Pass the Blood as well. And we'll see if he can actually hold on to an Undertaker since he's lost it the last 3 games of SwordGirls he's played in a row.
Can we really get better than that, though? I mean, it was down to the wire. You know, a win with one card, with 1 point left on your character. You got 3 cards left in your deck. I mean, or actually had 1 card left in his deck. I mean, he just threw everything out there that he had. You know, talk about just throwing up the Hail Mary. You know, this time he had the receiver in the end zone ready for the catch.
Yeah, what it's all about is being cool, calm, and collected, and that is exactly what Delita did. I mean, I'm sure he at one point felt that he was out of it, and he just mustered up that strength and courage and said, you know what, we got to keep this trucking. Looks like Ness is starting out with forced confinement, 2 Sense of Belonging, 1 Student Leader Lane, and 1 Shield Break. He's going to shuffle because that is not too pretty of a hand to have. There you see a Senpai made. He's got that Nana City's hovering over. He has got the Meadow Leisure Bondage, the beautiful Bondage, and Shield Break as well. I don't think he's going to play that Shield Break to start out. I think he's just going to chill. Yeah, he's just going to chill. And we see Delita starting out early with Undertaker. If Ness had played that Sense of Belonging, he could have stole it. He could have stole it in turn 1. That would have been amazing. And he was thinking about it. There were 2 of them in his hand just staring at him like, hey, click on us. Hey, do it. And he didn't do it. How heartbreaking.
Playing Undertaker this early on, I mean, that's a pretty bold strategy. There's no cards in the grave. I mean, it's not going to use its best. It's not going to use its skill to the best ability. I mean, you're basically banking on it staying alive long enough to go through to the next round and actually start pulling cards from the grave. Pretty bold move by Delita. I would say it's up there with playing Balance so early in the last match. Will the result be the same? I don't know. I would say that, you know, it's still really early, and I don't know. It's something that I not necessarily would have done, but who knows?
Ness decides to play that Flag Knight Fret in slot 1, going to be buffing Nana Sid. As you saw, also Swimwear Irie taking the Undertaker and sliding her down to slot 4. That means she could be on her last legs. The reason why Delita did that and played Undertaker so early, I have no idea. Instead of using her later in the game and just dropping her as a monster, he's kind of playing her early and letting her snowball. But with that Swimwear Irie constantly pushing your followers towards slot 5, you don't have that kind of time. She is going to be gone eventually, and there's nothing that he can do about that at all. So looks like he's got that Empowering Chant. He's going to buff his Nana Sid in slot 2. Flag Knight Fred is going to buff Ness's Nana Sid in slot 3 as well. There's going to be an exchange of damage back and forth, and I'm sure Delita is a little worried because he is going to be losing his Undertaker. If he has a sense of belonging himself, which I don't believe he does, there's a possibility he could steal Ness's Undertaker, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's just kind of given up on using Undertaker because she's been stolen from him so many times, and he ended up winning without her, so we'll see what happens.
Could this be a case of if you love something, let it go. It'll come back to you. Anyway, so you know, the one good thing about the chance that Delita has is Swimmer Irie may not move Undertaker over. As you can see, she takes the card from slot 3 and moves that over. So he's bought a little more time with Undertaker. There's a few more cards in the grave. She's going to boost up some, but it just may mean that it just hurts him that much more when she's eventually removed, because you know, his other Nana Sid in slot 2, that's not going to sit around for too long. I mean, that card doesn't really have a whole lot of stamina. It's now used its skill, so there's nothing left to boost it. He's going to need to use spell cards to keep her alive.
So Ness decides to play that Blue Moon Becky Felina. He's still got Nana Sid in slot 3. Undertaker decides to live for one more turn. Hopefully she lives a little bit longer for Delita. I'm sure he's crossing his fingers hoping that happens, but it doesn't matter anyway because Nana Sid takes her out. That's it. Undertaker gone by turn 3, I'm sorry. That has got to be a little heartbreaking for Delita, but I'm sure he expected something like that to happen. He's familiar with what Swimmer Irie can do and the amount of damage that Undertaker would have been able to take during the course of the game. So Swimmer Irie moving that Nana Sid down from slot 2 to slot 3. Blue Moon Becky Felina still living for the city here, and it looks like Delita's character card giving Nana Sid a little bit of a buff. Ness hovering over Blue Moon Becky Felina decides to play another one. He's got that healing magic he could use to buff up Irie's health, but he's contemplating whether or not he should do it. Yeah, he knows that Delita is going to use that balance at some point in the game, so whether or not he'll actually do this now, who knows. He's got that spell card, he's got his Mother Demon Rumor, and he's got a shield break as well that he's sitting on. I think he's going to chill for the moment.
See, now, Ness is pretty confident here. He knows that Delita does not have a Mother Demon Rumor. Otherwise, he would not have played Becky Flina in slot 2, because that would have combined the two sizes over 6 and leaves you very susceptible for Mother Demon Rumor. One thing it does do, though, is those two cards are just going to continue to buff themselves at the end of each turn. It just has to survive, and if it does, he's going to have two cards that are just going to